Welcome to the NBA Carousel, brought to you by Sideline Sports in conjunction with Fantasy and Flavors. I'm your host, Megan Price, and the tables have turned since our last show. The Bucks have won 3 games straight, and the series is now 3-2 in favor of Milwaukee. Game 6 is in Phoenix tomorrow and is an elimination game. Will Milwaukee finish it tomorrow night, or will Phoenix come out fighting? Let's get our Suns and Bucks rep on to find out. First, we have Jordan Long for Phoenix.
Hey, Megan.
Hey, Jordan, how are you?
I'd be doing better if the Suns weren't on a 3-game losing streak, but otherwise I'm fine.
Absolutely. Also, we have Cool McCain for the Bucks. Hey, Cool.
Buck City.
Hey, Fear the Deer. Definitely. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Awesome.
A little bit better if we hadn't a blue game too, we'd already be done with this, but it happens.
It happens, right? Well, you know what? The Bucks shocked the world Saturday night and ended up winning the game 123-119. I know it was majority of everyone thought Phoenix was going to pull it out, tie the series back up, and that was not the case. So now Phoenix goes home down 3-2. What do you guys expect out of Game 6?
Me personally, I feel like the Suns blew a chance to win. They had a chance with, 30 some seconds and then turnovers. But the fact of the matter is you still have a chance to go into Milwaukee where you haven't played very well. Let's be honest, they didn't play well in 3 or 4. But you have a chance to actually win and go home. They're going to play this like a Game 7. It's win or go home for them.
What do you feel, Cool?
I mean, I completely agree with them. Until you've lost, you haven't lost. As I stated last week, you have to play the games and see what happens. Obviously I'm feeling a lot better about Milwaukee right now, but the series isn't over, right? And then if you're Milwaukee, you want to do your best to get rid of this thing in 6. The last thing you want to do is have to go Game 7 on the road, in Phoenix again. Won the game in Phoenix that we needed. So now we take care of home court and the series is ours, but we haven't done it yet.
Very true, very true. Now, I know at the beginning of this series, Giannis was hurt. We weren't sure exactly what condition he was going to come in or if he was even going to be available for Game 1 or Game 2. And those were the 2 games that Phoenix ended up winning. How do you feel about his performance? And then what do you feel about the rest of the team?
So Giannis really impressed me because I thought Game 1 he should actually not even play. Game 2 he had one of his better games in the series. Game 2 and 3 pretty much. He's played well throughout the series. He's been what he needed to be for his team to win. He's been the superstar. He's been the guy that's really been pretty much unstoppable. He took a back seat in the last game, I think, to allow other guys to get involved because winning is more important than 40 to 50 points. But he's done, in my opinion, he's done everything that he's needed to do for his team to be in the position that they're in now to be able to close out the series. Now, when we start to look at the other players, like I said last week, I don't know why they do this, but Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday wait a couple of games before they actually show up. I was concerned that it would, burn us this time, but they were able to, do enough in games 3, 4, and 5 to help them get the wins. But I think you want to see those guys play like that from Game 1, right? And not necessarily saying that they would have changed the way the series is now. We won earlier, but you want to see your best players play their best on the road and at home. That's why you bring those guys in and give them the big contracts. But I feel like, they've done what they needed to do these last 3 games. That's been kind of a pattern of Milwaukee throughout the playoffs. Everyone seems to step up after like the first 2 games. I don't understand why, but that's what they've been, pretty much doing for the majority of the playoffs. But at some point, everybody's got to be focused on closing this game out tomorrow. Right. That's what's got to be everyone's focus. Close the game out, give everything, leave it all on the floor.
And do you expect Phoenix to come out super aggressive in this Game 6?
If they did not, then they shouldn't be there.
Correct. All right, Jordan, go ahead and give me your analysis of Game 5 and then what you anticipate out of Game 6.
Well, we look at the first quarter, they outscored the Bucks by 13. I figured, we're going to the second, third quarters. this will not necessarily be a blowout, but a game that we should win. But then you look at the fourth quarter, going down and actually almost winning the game. I just feel like we blew a chance to actually take the game. If we hadn't turned the ball over, which we've been doing in this series, the game would have been ours, but we didn't. The fact of the matter is you look at Chris Paul and Devin Booker, they're doing what they've been doing. They're scoring points. Paul's doing his thing with assists. Ayton actually played pretty well, but the problem is you cannot stop Giannis or the outside shooting. If we want to have a chance to actually go back at home, win it in Game 6, you have to stop their outside shooting. They're also driving in the lane. I don't know how many points have been decided in the paint, but the fact of the matter is for whatever reason, with Giannis and all the rest of the guys in the Bucks, they're just getting inside in the lane. They're driving, doing a much better job than the Suns. So, and for us to force a Game 7, we have to stop the driving in the lane. We have to put up more points in the paint. Also boxing out. But it's going to be a tough task. Again, we have to play it like a Game 7. I know they'll come out and play it like a Game 7 because they don't want to go back to Phoenix.
Now, I know something that was discussed before this series even started and why a lot of people thought Phoenix was going to dominate early, and which they did, but they thought they were going to dominate the entire series, was y'all's ability to set up the pick and roll. And surprisingly, Budenholzer adjusted. They went to a full court press instead of a half court press, and Chris Paul was unable to set up the pick and roll in the same way that he is accustomed to. He's turned the ball over some, and his shooting has been somewhat short. Now, Booker has had back-to-back awesome games, awesome performances, 40+, and it just was not quite enough. What do you feel like you need to see out of the rest of everybody else on your bench?
Well, the bench hasn't really done a whole lot. If you look at the last game, they only had 21 points. That's not going to cut it in this league. The
Right.
fact of the matter is we need everybody to step up. Yes, the pick and roll hasn't been working, and we're hitting outside shots. We just have to keep doing what we've been doing, try to get the pick and roll going. If they stop it, then new strategy. Somebody needs to cut to the basket. That's the biggest problem. Is the Bucks are doing a much better job of cutting to the basket. We're not defending it. And on the other side, on the offensive side, we definitely saw in games 1 and 2, the pick and roll was working great. And like you alluded to, Chris Paul is turning the ball over. Devin Booker has been amazing. But the fact of the matter is they need to go away from the pick and roll. I'm not sure what else they need to do, but they need to get somebody in the lane, get easy buckets. That's what we're missing.
I absolutely agree, and I feel like that matchup between Ayton and Giannis is just one-sided almost, especially defensively, just extremely one-sided. So, Giannis has definitely proved himself to be that player that, we all thought he had the potential to be. And surprisingly, despite pretty much everybody's criticism, Budenholzer has adjusted well in the later part of this series. Cool. I would say this: if you guys end up winning this series, does it do y'all more good to win the series and keep Budenholzer, or to lose and actually move on from him?
It does us more good to win the series, because at the end of the day, you don't know how many chances you're going to get to win a championship. So when the opportunities are there, you need to win them. I'm pleasantly surprised by Budenholzer, and I'm feeling like this may be an effort with all the coaches and not necessarily him, right? Because, Unsell's leaving. He's taking, not Unsell, but he has a lot of other assistants that he has that have input into what's going on. So I really feel like it may be a jointed effort. He may have assistants that are in his ear and able to say, hey, listen, this is what you need to do so that we can win this game. You want to keep your job. We want to keep our jobs. This is what we need to do. And that's just how I feel based on what I've seen from him all season. This is, different from what he's normally done. But at the end of the day, also, what I can honestly say is at least he's doing something different. He's trying. He's doing what he needs to do in order to, be successful. And it's working so far, but you still have to close it out.
Absolutely correct. Now, and it kind of turned the tables actually on Monty Williams, that he actually needs to adjust, just like we were criticizing Budenholzer for, that when you guys changed it to a full court press, Monty Williams has to find a way to adjust to that and keep pushing forward and find a way to win a ball game.
Yeah. The trick with that though is really that length that Milwaukee has. It's very difficult when they put that full court press on. And they've done it for small sections during the season, a couple of plays at a time, but not as much as just using it now. But the length that they have, everybody's so tall, arms are long, so it's hard to get past the lanes. It's hard to make other plays. So it's really kind of changed the series definitely a lot. And again, kudos. I mean, I have to give kudos to Budenholzer because at the end of the day, he's going to get the credit whether he came up with the idea or not for it. But at the same time, they've had some time. Monty Williams is now the coach that everybody's saying, oh, you need to adjust, you need to do better. So I feel like a guy that, has done as well as he has with his team throughout the season, we're going to see some adjustments this game. I think one big advantage we'll have, and we've had the whole series, we've had the whole playoffs, is size and athletic ability from top to bottom. Outside of a couple of guys, we have a lot of really athletic guys that, like Jordan was saying, they get to the hoop, they play aggressive, they play hard. They've had some games where they've shot better than what we normally expect from them. So it's been really interesting just to see them go out and just kind of put three really solid games together and keep this momentum. But again, you have to finish or it doesn't matter.
Absolutely agree. Jordan, what do you want to see out of the Suns in this next game? What adjustments do you think needs to be made in order for them to switch things up and be able to not only change their offense, but change their defense?
Well, we've talked what Cool said, it's the full court press that has really hurt them. The fact of the matter is we have to figure out a way to break the press. There's a lot of ways you can do it, picks, but the problem is even with picks, that they're so athletic, you can't do that. You got to watch out for being in foul trouble too. That's the one thing that has hurt us too. We've seen Devin Booker and Chris Paul in some of these games sit. You cannot be in foul trouble. You just have to figure out a way to break the press. Like I said, get people to, get in the lane, drive to the lane, be more aggressive. That's the only way you're going to win this game. But the fact of the matter is Monty Williams has to do a better job. This is the first time in these playoffs we have faced adversity. We barely beat the Clippers in 6 games, but we were ahead in that series. Nuggets we swept. Same with the Lakers. We beat the Lakers. So this is adversity that Monty Williams has not seen in these playoffs. It's do or die. That's at the end of the day. Like Cool said, it's a closeout game for the Bucks, but we want to keep it going.
Right, absolutely. And so in a Game 7 situation, y'all are back home. What do you expect out of that?
If we get back home, we've only lost one game in this series at home. We could have lost a couple of them, but the fact of the matter is we have the home court advantage if we get to a Game 7. We have that crowd that's always behind us, which should energize the boys. If you're not going to play well in a do or die game, then why are you playing this game? You have to think of this as a closeout game in Game 6. Get it to Game 7. Get your crowd into it, because at the end of the day, you want to have the home court advantage. And we've seen in any sport, home court advantage, home court and home field means something.
It absolutely does. And so do you expect either one of y'all, do y'all expect it to go to a Game 7?
I think it depends for me is how the Suns come out. If they come out like they did the first quarter, I expect a Game 7. But if they come out like the quarters 2 and 3 in Game 5, this series is over in 6.
Right. Absolutely agree. Now, something that I noticed out of the Milwaukee, a lot of criticism during these playoffs for the inconsistency of Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. And that was something that we saw completely different in the last 2 games. In the last game, Chris Middleton had 29 points, 5 assists, and 7 rebounds. Drew Holiday had a very impressive 27 points, 13 assists, and 4 rebounds. What adjustments do you think they made in order to fulfill that?
Well, I mean, honestly, I saw a lot of them taking the same shots they were going in. I think they're just players that they have to get going, right? They just have to get going. You want to see it more consistently, but it just have to get going. I think they tried to come off screens a little bit more. I did see both of them attack the basket, but we've had games where Drew Holiday attacked the basket and he could not hit the broadside of a barn from 3 feet away. So I think it's just, once they get it going, once they get into it, and I think sometimes with Giannis too, which he's gotten a lot better of, I've seen the last 2 years, is sometimes, I can take more shots, I can do more, but let me distribute to these guys. Let me get these guys involved because it's easier to stop me, Holiday and Middleton, except just me. So I think one thing you do see a lot is when Giannis gets 40, you see Holiday or Middleton, sometimes both, not score as much. But when he gets like 25, 30, 32, somewhere in that range, you see them kind of get like 20, 25. So I think one good adjustment they made was allowing Giannis to be less aggressive and allow them to kind of get their game going a little bit. And then Pat Connaughton with some big threes helped out as well. We needed every point to win.
Absolutely agree. Let's shoot over to the national team real quick, who ended up getting a win yesterday. What was y'all's opinion about that performance?
I understand we haven't played very well, so any win is a win. I know it's exhibition. We're still gelling as a team. I know Zach LaVine will not be in it. Kevin Love has decided to not go as well, and we've also added JaVale McGee. And I know there's another player we added, but the fact of the matter is we're still gelling. We're trying to figure this out. A win's a win, any way you put it, especially going into Tokyo. I mean, do I expect a gold medal? I don't know at this point because, like we said last week, the world has caught up to us. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, we still have some of the best players in the world. And the fact is we're still trying to gel. And once we get going, hopefully in the medal round, anything is possible.
Absolutely. Now, the other player that they actually added is Keldon Johnson from the Spurs. And he had 15 points and 3 rebounds in his performance yesterday. And so I know there was a lot of criticism, but I'm glad he came out and had a great game. But not only that the entire team came out and had a good game. Kevin Durant had 14 points. Zach LaVine had 13 and Dame had 19. So they were able to pull out that win. Also, the ladies had a win yesterday against Nigeria, and it was an extremely dominant performance. It was 90-something to 60-something. And I know there were some concerns. Team USA actually got beat in the All-Star game by Team WNBA, and then they ended up losing an exhibition game to Australia as well. So it seems like Australia has some pretty good teams, both women's and men's, despite losing Liz Cambridge, who has pulled out in this past week as well. Were you guys able to catch the women's performance?
I saw some of the highlights, but again, I'm not concerned about either one at this point. Mm-hmm. The women are still gelling just like the men. So it's just a matter of what can they do once they go to Tokyo. If they can gel, I think they still, especially the women, can win the gold medal. I don't remember the last time they didn't win the gold medal.
You know what? I don't have the answer to that. I know that they're like 66-3 as far as their record. So not sure the last time that they actually didn't win. And they do seem to look extremely strong. I think that loss to Team WNBA in the All-Star game actually speaks to the amount of talent within the league compared to, the rest of the world that we have tons of talent within the league, even though there's only 12 teams. So either roster probably could have gone and done extremely well within the Olympics. And the men's, I'm still a little concerned. We picked up JaVale McGee for his size, and he did not play 1 minute yesterday.
Well, I mean, if you look at really the men's and the women's teams, what you're going to have the advantage of is you have more of a collection of the greatest players in the world playing together, because the United States produces more of the top, players. You have some players that are better. But just a collection of talent is always going to be better. And I think you have that right now with the women and the men. I think the men, you're starting to catch up more, but it's still spread out because, it's a couple of guys from this country, a couple of guys from this country, a couple of guys from this country. But I think the men winning was important. And even though JaVale McGee didn't really do much in that game, he'll have a big benefit because one of the big things with JaVale McGee is he's always blocking shots when they hit the rim and getting, goaltends. You're not going to have that in Olympic play because you can do that in FIBA rules. So that's, I think, a big reason why they added him. And just a cool side note, his mom won gold back, I think it was 1984. So
Oh,
if they
cool.
do win, that'd be him and his mother that both have gold medals. So that'd be a cool, kind of side storyline to watch throughout, their adventure in the Olympics. But I think the women and the men are both fine. I don't see any team really being able to beat them. I see a couple of teams that may be able to compete and keep the game close, but I don't see anybody on the world stage is going to be able to beat the men's or the women's national teams. And you think about the men's team, you still have Drew Holiday, who we've been talking about, Chris Milton, who we've been talking about, and Devin Booker, who we've been talking about, that are not there. So you're going to get an influx of scoring, defense, and shooting as soon as the NBA finals are over.
Correct. And shooting back over to the NBA finals, as we wait for game 6 tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and say I feel like Phoenix is going to win this game. I think it's going to be an incredibly close game, could very well be an overtime game. And I think both teams will probably be kind of tired going into game 7, but those are my predictions for it. What are your guys' predictions for it?
Like I said, it just depends on how Phoenix comes out. They had a couple of days to look at the tape to see what they did wrong. If they come out like they did in the first and fourth quarters where they played with energy, this is going to a game 7. But if they play it like the second and third quarters of game 5, the Bucks will win this series. But I do feel like I have the confidence that Monty Williams has looked at the game tape, figured out adjustments. I feel like this is going to go to 7 games.
Agreed. And Cole, your opinion?
Well, I picked the Bucks in 7. The Nuggets, even if you go all the way back to the Nuggets, right? You've had the Nuggets, you've had the Clippers, even the Lakers, but the Lakers a lot more injuries and a lot sooner, so they weren't able to kind of really put anything together. You've seen 2 teams that Phoenix has been able to kind of dominate and kind of just take their will from them. They haven't been able to do that with Milwaukee. Milwaukee, they were down 0-2, and they're like, we do this all the time. They came right back and won the next 3 games. So I think if you're Milwaukee, you're looking at this game, and this is literally game 7 for you. This is do or die because you don't want to get to game 7. So I think you get the performance that you need from Giannis. I think even your favorite player, PJ Tucker, gets a couple of buckets in for him. I think Connaughton, they're going to be at home, so guys like Connaughton, even 5-4s may, get a couple of threes in. And I see Milwaukee pulling out a close game in 6. Let's go ahead and end this thing, get those boys ready to go help the Olympic team.
Okay, good predictions, guys. And then in a couple of weeks, we will actually have the draft as well. So even after the finals, we will have a couple of more shows, guys, so that we can do a live draft show and just talk about everybody's teams, their draft picks, what they expect for next season. So don't think that the finals is actually the ending of the show. We will be back for the draft show. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we will have a reaction show to the finals also next week.
Okay, I'll go first. You can find me, of course, here on the NBA Carousel every Monday, and you can find me on Twitter at SportsScoop1, and I have a blog that I write Mondays through Fridays at sports-scoop.com.
And you, Cool?
You can find me on social media at Cool McCain, and I playcallersportstalk.com Friday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern time. If you can't catch it live, replay's there for you.
Thanks so much, guys. And we will see you back next week for the wrap-up of the NBA Finals. Thank you so much for watching all season with us. And we're getting close to the end, but we have about 2 more shows left. Enjoy the Olympics, guys, and we'll see you back next week.